just to kind of piggyback just a little bit of what I feel like what you're going to say is how different these lobbies are versus a set finals lobby. You don't know who you're dropping with game after game after game. Is it contested? Is it uncontested? What about my loop path? Then obviously the differences in people's playstyles when it comes to getting Surge.
73 players are returning finalists from Major 1, so we have high level in these lobbies. Even though there is 250 duos, a lot of them are tier 1 veterans of Fortnite competitive, so we're starting quickly with Rabob Fastroki. Uncontested, although they do have more of a split drop here. And let's see how they can start it off.
Yeah, it's gonna be very, very interesting. You know, different players around the lobby as you feel it out. Like you said, are you contested? Are you uncontested? Once you get that freedom of that flexibility, knowing that you are uncontested, just like Ve1ryy and Tayson here, you can slow things down just a little bit. Make sure you get all the important loot. Make sure you get your medal and those hard mats, which you know is important throughout the rest of the game, and really start to energize yourself. Because just as easy as it is to pop off and have those good moments, it's easy to start to get down on yourself if things aren't going your way. And Ve1ryy and Tayson, they're a team where I don't think they'll look down on themselves, but I'm looking at them to start it off hot and not look back.
Definitely not. Landing at Fencing Fields, that is where Malibuka Merstash landed last major, although there is no longer that medallion there. Now Grimgate is the popular spot, but Ve1ryy and his duo partner here trying to see if they can get a bit of a sneaky angle. Initial shots onto their opponents as they creep on up.
Yeah, I feel like we've seen this a few times each and every season, especially with the audio visuals that players are using. Not only do you hear players around you, the visual actually shows which direction they're going in. So once you see players and you kind of hope they might not have spotted you out yet, and you're looking at Ve1ryy's loot, he's probably looking to third party, get some sort of advantage before he starts this fight, because without any variation of a shotgun this season, it's going to be so hard to fight back against a player who already has one.
In the outskirts now, looting up what they can. We saw a lot of interesting engagements here on this side of the map in the previous major. The difficult part of these lobbies is you don't know who's going to be contesting you. There's so many duos that, you know, when you're in those set lobbies, you know who's going to be dropping on you. You know where the rotations are going to be coming from the players in the surrounding areas. But here you have no clue. It could be so many different duos that get into your lobby that you're not exactly sure where those Storm Surge bases are going to be built, where those opponents are going to be landing. And you won't know if you'll have your drop spot uncontested or not. But for Novix and his duo partner here, they're going to see if they can get some shots and do a bit of that early game damage.
Yeah, as we tune into them, you kind of saw them doing the very, very similar sneaky strategy, just trying to creep upon their opponent, get some early surge, and then if they feel confident, they can push from there. You see they also have the EMP grenades just to kind of take down the shield even more. They have a lot of different tools in their tool belt to kind of figure out how they want to play, but as soon as that team kind of left, that gives them the freedom to continue to rotate in. Nebs and iDrop. I know Levin had a lot to say about them last season, but sometimes you just need a refresher. Major 2, new season, new meta going around. Nebs and iDrop, they're probably looking for a resurgence, and this is game 1 of the FNCS. So no matter if you played in the Evaluation Cups, Duo Cash Cups, Scrims, whatever you have done up until this point, almost doesn't matter because you have to now perform when the event is actually being played out.
As a reminder here, the players right now are playing for those series points in the hopes of qualifying to semifinals. I believe it'll be about 130 points is kind of a goal, as I would say is kind of like a good job for this 4th round of the first qualifier. If you're able to get that, you're on a good route for qualifying in the next weekly finals. So we'll see who's going to be able to get those initial pop-off matches. Who's going to have a rougher start to their tournament. DMR being put to good use. Good way to get those tags, do that damage. Initially, I wasn't too much of a fan, but as the season played on, you see more and more players using it to get those tags from afar.
Yeah, one of the biggest changes from DMRs of the past is they were always projectile versus other weapons that had that hit scan, like the ARs of the past. This season around, and even last season, everything is projectile. So now that you're on an even playing field, hit scan versus projectile makes it even more of a go-to weapon, especially in lobbies just like this, to where you're going to need Surge. You may not need it in the first couple of early zones, but later on in the game, you want to make sure you are ahead of the curve, so that way you have more control over your game plan and not forced to make any aggressive moves when you may or may not want to. And already you can see second zone forcing a lot of action here at the edge. About 4 teams directly here, 5th one in the distance, and they're all being gatekeeped at the edge.
Teeny and Chap, newly formed duo, performing quite well so far. As we have Jake Buka. This guy's aim is insane from what I've seen. 3 bananas in the inventory. Ready to put them to good use. Also a DMR in hand, continuing that trend that we've seen throughout this match. Does have the dashes as well. But he does not have a teammate, Jacob. And that's a big problem.
Yeah, not just yet. Well, everybody else has the luxury of rotating in towards zone, finding a more comfortable position. Kind of has to stagger it all out. You see him kind of trying to peek for information, even accidentally using one of the dashes, but isn't too much of a worry. You see the river sticks not too far off in the direction he already has to go to kind of replenish those underworld charges. And now that he's going to get his teammate back, at least it's going to give him a refresh feeling, you knowing that there's nobody else in sight. But from a comfortable feeling to very uncomfortable, you see a sporadic fight already breaking down with a couple players already weak. And you can see they're just trying to attack from multiple angles so their opponent doesn't know exactly where they're coming from.
I mean, if I was cloning his duo partner here, I was going to say I'd be feeling comfortable having the HP and shield advantage, but quickly those tables balance out as now both duos have been hit quite hard, forced to pop that Flowberry Fizz, which is also one of the main items in terms of mobility this season, as we haven't seen the wings being put into play too much. You have the bananas, you have the dashes if you're able to get into a river of sticks, which is that water that gets you those underworld dashes, just like the Cerebus Medallion. As we look at Uguay here, also known as Chapix, alongside his duo partner. So far looking healthy.
Yeah, you can see them fighting for everything. No heals, very little loot left in their inventory. Carmine Corp is actually very, very little HP and shield as well. And that's something that they're going to have to fight through this season. Their drop spot, unless the couple of chests or the drop floor spawn gives them a good loot, they're going to have to be on the lookout for it. And already a knock onto one, leaving Uguay, aka Chapix, all by himself. 1v2 situation. And even though the zone is just right there, there's more players nearby, but he is just landing haymaker after haymaker, bracking down his opponents each step of the way. And you even see the loot being swapped around. His down teammate dropping the extra shields, making sure that he has enough to continue this fight as long as he needs to.
He can get it done here, as it's the 1 versus 2, but if I'm confident in the player, it's going to be Chapix. As maybe I spoke a little too soon, Jacob. Chapix is going to be going down quickly.
That was just one of those unfortunate circumstances with Juan going down so early in that fight. Even though he was able to pass the loot on over, it was no HP heals. There was only so long Chapix was able to last either way with the amount of shots he was landing there. He just needed bandages, floppers, med kits, anything at that point. As we check a replay, Ve1ryy and Tayson dropping Nevs into their box, making it look almost easy, but they still have that fight up against eye drops.
Yeah, I dropped left alone now, as his duo partner Nebs has been taken out. I wonder if Tayson is going to be able to clean that up, as now we go back to the Reckless Railways. Quite a few duos here based up. Maybe just looking to see if they can get some damage done on the teams rotating through. Even refarm a little bit of the buildings to get a good position to get that field of view. But now Kovacs trying to make an escape here. He has the banana in hand, which could grant him that mobility boost, but it's going to be stormy as well, being a part of the chase, as now he's been cracked and he's been taken out. Stan Kovacs, quick elim on the board.
Yeah, he needed to be able to pounce on the Kovacs while he had him weak. And you kind of saw his inventory. The more time you give Stan and Kovacs, they're going to be able to heal up. They had splashes. They have the legendary bananas. They have fizz. They had everything that they needed. So the longer that one took, the more chances they're going to get back on into it. And you can see with the zone pushing over in this direction, with that elimination, with the damage, that gives Stan and Kovacs some time to work with before they're forced into another rotation.
Mythic DMR in hand. Destro Dragons, see if they can connect some shots here. Could be huge damage if they can land a headshot. It is difficult, though, as these, new projectile shots, not so new anymore, to be fair, can be a bit more difficult to land. But if you do it, especially with the DMR, you will be rewarded with the amount of damage that it does. Being on the edge of zone, though, it looks like they want to do a rotation where they're not as likely to get tagged by these players already in zone. But with being so far away, both duos, all three duos actually in this area, I think with the same plan in mind, get the zone, do a bit of damage. It's still only third zone, so you're not really going to get punished too much.
Yeah, and you can see them scrapping together as much of the leftover foraged vegetables and fruits. And even though they do have the banana, they could use it for the speed boost. You kind of want to wait, use it at the perfect time. I do expect them to use it eventually, but with Destru already having that medallion as well, he has the speed boost. Who's going to make it there to the zone first and give him and Dragon a spot that they can work with? That's going to be pivotal. But from team to team, you see the different strategies going down around the lobby. Some forced to rotate, box up. Others just using the plain old bush strat that we've seen so many different times.
Tekka, becoming a waterbender here. We'll see. I haven't seen this item being used too much. But you never know, Jacob. Maybe something can happen here.
I haven't seen it used too much myself, but I've been hearing more and more rumblings of what it can do with distance. It's not necessarily the best weapon in close range for box fighting. The Thunderburst, the Harbinger, even the Warforged would be better for that. But in terms of distance, especially if you're not able to get your hands on an AR or one of these DMRs, it might be one of the next best things that you can kind of find around the map. See Ve1ryy, Gripe, just kind of position outside of the zone, knowing players are going to have to rotate nearby just like this. And you can see this is where they're going to get as much of the attempts as possible, so that way they don't have to worry about surge later on. And with a nice body shot like that, 55. And that's the thing about the DMR. It deals so much damage with each and every one of those shots, and that's not even including a headshot, that it does help you so much when it comes to surge, especially if you're able to position yourself well.
Rift Island has appeared. So now, once again, like all the previous seasons with this Rift Island, there are going to be rifts appearing below this island. And the players can choose if they want to box up around for future mobility, or they can go on the island, capture that flag, even have some launch pads up top, and also that visibility of the surroundings being so elevated. And it's going to be Tekka and his duo partner, which are going to be the ones that claim this. No longer gives points like it has in previous seasons. But Lucia now wanting a piece of that pie as he's going right into his opponent's box. Duo partner, though, is heavily tagged. Good idea to recuperate some shields here before continuing with that aggression.
Yeah, the strength in numbers as they position themselves on the low ground. They know they did enough damage to Lunex to at least back him up to where if they are going to get aggressive, you have that opportunity to hit the one pump or know it is going to be a 2v1 situation. Lunex just trying to breathe. Winner granting them that opportunity. Lucia and his teammate just trying to do the same thing, but the later this game goes, you're seeing players and teams kind of position closer and closer together. This is going to be zone 4, so within the next couple of zones, it will push away from Loot Island. So you see it in the mini-map now. All these players that are positioned around this side of the map are going to have to think about what's next, whether it's now or later.
You can see how many duos, too, are positioned around here. You do not want to get in a fight, as it's just going to be third party after third party, taking shots from every angle. This player's now getting close to bunkers here. Blaster and his duo partner, 2 Flowberry Fizzes, 2 bananas, ready for the mobility alongside full dashes from the River of Styx close by. You can see, once again, that water that gives you those underworld dashes, just like the medallion does. Although you don't recharge them if you don't have the medallion. Of course, unless you're able to get inside of the river once again, which luckily enough with this zone, you should have that opportunity.
What I'm doing liking what I'm seeing here is the Chain of Hades. there is a lot of different loot that players like to utilize. The double heals, the snipers, maybe even triple heals. You don't see it very often this season. Teams carrying the chain of Hades from early game all the way into end game. And it works very, very similar to the old Harpoon. You can scrounge together loot, and you can see Pixel just trading together shots over Peak. Soul Pix takes the brunt of that last one, forced it back down, and you can see only 4 splashes left. Not a lot of heals to go around the both of them. Now they have to start making those conscientious decisions, when to heal, when not to heal, and eventually when to go for a refresh.
Could be getting a little bit more desperate here as time goes on and the rotate has to come through. They did have 3 elims to their name, though, so they've started off pretty strong. As we go back to Ve1ryy and Tayson as well with 2 eliminations, but a lot healthier in terms of shields, bigs, minis, and even that Flowberry for healing and mobility. You can see, too, positioned around Lavish Lair. They have, I believe, a Surge base already built up as well on that mountain that they must have used earlier on, but now the rotate must come through. Will they just play edge zone? What's kind of their game plan here? They don't really need to do too much, to be honest, with already those 2 eliminations of the loot they have, so I don't think they want to take any risks.
Yeah, I don't think so either, especially since you know they're one of the teams that predominantly look towards the high ground, whether they have it or not, in towards the end game. They have a sniper in their hands, so you know that's going to be a viable option later on. Zas is just trying to scrap together as much loot as possible, looking for Surge. Even though he is 16 above, he know in a split second things can change, and then he might be forced to jump into a box when he doesn't want to. And that's why you see him trying to get as proactive as possible. That and the fact that he does still have some ground to cover before he's safely inside of the zone.
I'm looking for a headshot snipe here, Jacob. It's what I want to see, especially when you're playing as a solo. You need those impact, those game-changing shots. 39 below Storm Surge. Gonna get a bit desperate here shortly. He could even bait the peaks. If he can just get opponents to take shots at him, all it takes is 1 quick headshot. He has 8 opportunities. Will one of them land?
And it's not like he's a duo where they can just kind of box fight or even jump into a box altogether. That would be really risky, but he's hoping that he can catch somebody off guard, possibly a solo. There is going to be one person right beneath. Storm Surge is now taking him down. This is where he's being put on the clock, and it runs out just like that. He did land a shot to go above Surge, but the 2v1, he went down immediately after.
Out of time, at the disadvantage. We're talking about advantages. So 1v1, both players are, well, both duo partners are knocked down here. As right now, all it takes is 1 good shotgun shot to connect as the splashes come through. Now HP advantage onto Laku. Oh, has he done it, Jacob? Got the finish on the duo partner, but still 1 player to take down who does not want to let him pick up his teammate.
Yeah, and I was to say, just because of those early splashes, even though he's using them on himself, it's affecting and healing his teammate, which means he is going to last longer while knocked. And you can see with his opponent no longer being in existence, he's going to be able to get that revive back on up. But in comes Teeny, in comes Chap. They heard all this noise, and they possibly saw the revive come out due to the audio visuals and let the next fight begin. 112 above the damage threshold. Chap and Teeny are trying to be proactive in a situation like this. Get loot, get heals, get a couple shots, and continue to move forward, knowing that the zone has pulled a little bit away from them.
They were hungry for it, but as that zone appeared and they realized that their opponents were healing up, it was no longer worth it to take that risk. As now we take a look at where a bit more of the congested action is at here. You can see how many duos are currently rotating into this east side of the zone, boxing up, trying to get in. It's going to be Hen, though, and his duo that are 75 below. Only 3 shots in the chamber for the sniper rifle. Good amount of SMG ammunition, but is that what you want in this situation? 99 below, as Storm is 1 second away from closing, and there it is. They have pulled it, but they need damage.
Yeah, you saw them when we first tuned in, slowly slipping down. A couple shots going to land there, but still not nearly enough. But it's the patience that I like what I'm seeing out of this team. They're trying to calculate, formulate the strategy, possibly out-healing it as well, giving themselves options and flexibility to work with as they look off into the distance, seeing a couple players in a fight, and this is their chance. With the distraction already being had, they're just trying to land a few through those builds to get them above the threshold, but instead of climbing, they're slowly falling. With a knock just like that, they finally have done enough to get above the threshold. Bonus points for the elimination and the match that they're trying to get, but now they just put themselves in a spot where they're stacked around so many other teams.
Cringe Noms looking to see what they can do to stay up here. Incredibly far from the zone, all the way up north, and they need to go south. So many duos in their way, blocking their path though, and being 66 below just makes it that much more difficult. You need to get some tags. You need to do some damage as they're forced to pop their heals, pop their medkits, minis, anything they can to out-heal this Storm Surge damage. As all the players now begin their rotates, they should have some chances to take shots here from the back as loot is recuperated. 20 above now, but that's just a breath of air for what's to come.
Yeah, this is just one of those tough zones when it comes to Surge. Not only are you forced to rotate, especially if you get a max just like this, you still need 11 players to go down before Storm Surge turns off altogether. Crimson Noms knows that time is ticking. While they're rotating forward, they still have to get damage because now they're 91 below, continuously falling. Not even a chance to heal up just yet because they don't want to continuously fall down below that threshold even further. And it costs them. Josh Go Hard and Bimbo get the elimination and they survive.
3 on Josh now, as all the pressure from the duos already boxed up are now getting applied onto him and Bimbo. The shot's coming through, looking to see if he can kind of take an alternate path here, but he's not gonna be able to. Goes down to zone 10 now. 24 bullets, recuperated that ammunition and putting it to work. Quick little headshot is exactly what Hen wanted now. 302 above, the damage has been secured.
Yeah, that headshot basically tripled his damage altogether. It's not even necessarily about the elimination and picking up all that loot. They're just trying to have a consistent game. Top 23 placements have just now begin to set in for this lobby. So it doesn't matter how much work you've done up until this point, you have to double it up and send it back.
Double or nothing. Teeny Chap. Not looking as healthy as Hen now at 17. They have made it into the zone though. Pulls east once again. As now being 16 above, they're going to choose to get a bit more elevated. This is good both for looking at opponents and also looks like he does have spare materials, so not even going to cost them a lot. 10 damage, not enough. Need to land more SMG shots as now he's forced 14 below. Storm Surge will start ticking shortly. 25 seconds until this zone closes. Ve1ryy for the mobility and the rotate coming through.
Yeah, even though there's only 3 players that need to go down for this zone in Storm Surge, the next one is 10 right after. So there's no feeling comfortability or a chance to breathe at all for Teeny unless he keeps on climbing. And it's almost a daunting field that you're staring at, knowing that you're solo. High ground is one direction, low ground, there's a whole mess below, but he's being patient. And that is the biggest thing. Peeking through the cone, he's spotting out his biggest threats, which is highest ground.
Will they be able to hold on to it though? Holding it from first zone. First moving zone, should I say. Can be a little risky. There is 35 players up, 21 duos. But they do have that medallion, Jacob. They do have those dashes. You can see them splitting it. So both of them get charges. Both of them have those options to stay ahead and conserve materials on the rotate, which is going to make it significantly easier to hold on to height. As Tayson and Ve1ryy now 547 above with only 2 elims. They have been hitting their shots.
Yeah, and you can see right now they're just causing destruction around the lobby, staying ahead of the curb so they don't end up in a position just like this. Even though Teeny is going to be above the threshold, plenty of loot, plenty of materials. He might have to risk it all in order to get the damage he needs. Now he's only 6, jumping above, trying to figure out who he can catch slipping as he continues to move forward ahead of the zone. Boxes above Ve1ryy and Tayson, but as soon as he does, he gets ahead. He drops below the Storm Surge threshold.
Shots looking to come through. It's 37 above. That's not what you want to be at. 14 below, even worse. Raban now for Strokey, seeing if they can creep on behind one of their opponents here. Blaster might be the one getting blasted here. Shot comes through. It's 80. Is it going to be enough to get the elim, though, as he gets cracked? Another player close by. Ve1ryy gets the knock onto Lucia. Will he have the heals that Raban wants, though? As now shots come through. 5 builds only. Banana popped, but it's not enough.
Yeah, that shot that damaged his HP. Could have popped the other one. Spicy goal, aka Ve1ryy, knows that Hen is down. He has his own legendary banana popped as well. That's where you see him gaining health, moving quickly. Ve1ryy Fizz, this is going to be the last charge and the last attempt he really has to keep himself going in this game. He's hoping for a top 10 or better.
Oh, taken out, sent right back to the menu. As up top now in the clouds, duos with those underworld dashes and the medallion are still holding strong. Meanwhile, the players down below looking to scavenge anything they can. 6 HP, no builds, no materials. You need to connect the shot here. You need to find a solo. as it's a duo that hunts him down.
Yeah, it was just tough. One of the few solos left in the game in a world full of duos. Knew it was going to happen eventually. 11th zone, Tayson, Ve1ryy target towards the high ground, but due to those underworld dashes, they're not going to be able to get it right on back. So it is going to be Ve1ryy and Ve1ryy on top of the world now, trying to see if they can solidify this game. Top 6 position, but it's Tayson who's now by himself. Ve1ryy is going to be lost along the way. A huge shot's going to weaken him, and he goes down altogether, but TD's still popping off.
Still as a solo as well, holding on strong. Has that refresh of materials, now 10 builds to work with. Ve1ryy coming through. A little bit of mobility, but is it going to be enough as now shields fully recuperated? A lot of solos close by, not even too much HP to their name. This could be an opportunity for a bit of impacts, a bit of refreshes, but the shots from above still coming through. The pressure is on.
From down on Surge as a solo to just making things work here in this game. He still has high ground above. Players below. He's the sandwich, the meat in the middle, but he's still figuring out a way to traverse through all of this. Top 3 secured. Nice shot onto a player on the low ground. Teeny could make magic happen.
7 E-lives. Teeny looking unstoppable, but the shots from above could be what stops him. It's a duo close by. Akira hits the first shot, 43 HP. Second shot connected as well. Teeny goes down.
Holy heals. He has 5 medkits, 4 floppers going up against the high ground. Gotta think he has this one in the book, especially if the only heals on the other side are gonna be those 2 legendary bananas. So it almost leaves one choice to Kata. They have to drop down low. They have to disrupt and not let this go to the heal off if they don't have the heals themselves.
Right, they don't know what their opponents have. They could have medkits, they could have not. And that's what's on their mind right now, and it looks like what they're gonna do is one player goes down, disrupts the heal off. Is he gonna be able to though as he gets taken to the ground? Akira now, 5 medkits, 4 floppers, 3 splashes. This is going to be incredibly difficult for Ve1ryy.
He is just looking all over. First bananas pop.
Wait a minute.
And he also has the medkits that he was just able to find. He just found a treasure trove of medkits with the legendary banana. But we still got splashes, we still got medkits, and we still got floppers on the other side. This will come down to Storm Sickness. Who has it and who doesn't?
Who was in Storm longer during this match? That is the main question. Akira, in terms of healing, wins it out with the 4 floppers and 3 splashes, but if he was in zone longer, Ve1ryy could take this home.
Yeah, we might need a flopper splash onto Akira, just get that HP back on up before the next medkit. He's definitely cutting it close, but the last couple of medkits being used on the other side. Floppers, splashes, seconds left for Ve1ryy to see if it's gonna be enough. Akira down to the floppers, it's not going to be enough. Now he has to go on the hunt. He does have the dashes, but the Storm Sickness on the other side. Takata, I called it was gonna be a big play in this one, and it costed them everything.
Ve1ryy takes it home. His duo was unable to disrupt, but with those 4 medkits he found from his opponents, he was able to outlive and take that VR.
Probably one of the longest heal offs that we have had in 2024 FNCS, and it really came down to them finding medkits while the legendary banana was popped. This was the moment here where you just think everything is coming down. I ran out of heals. There's nothing left to go.
What a way to start off the qualifier, but so much went on, Jacob. I want the desk to break it down. Ve1ryy, Ve1ryy, what do you have for us?